The time is exactly 6 after 8 o'clock. Welcome back. We're going to be talking about the water situation in South Africa. And just when holidaymakers are going to be making their way, obviously, to all the coastal areas, I kind of wonder what type of a holiday it's going to be for South African people. And more importantly, visitors from overseas, are they still going to be visiting our shores, knowing that there's a huge risk regarding the drinking water and I guess water in general? Let's talk with Benoit Leroy, CEO of the South African Water Chamber. A very good morning to you and tell us what exactly is the South African Water Chamber?
Morning, Julia, and to the listeners. The Water Chambers is an organization, a non-profit we set up on behalf of business in collaborating with the private business, with public, with government, in trying to get, in 2017 we're trying to get the water sanitation. Sorry, my
Oops.
internet
Okay,
is...
yes, we blame it on Eskom because they are at fault here. And it looks like we're having another Eskom debacle playing out as far as our water situation is concerned. Very, very, very disconcerting, I might add. Please carry on.
Sorry about the intermittent internet, but we have load shedding and it's affecting us quite badly. Yes, so we really established ourselves to represent business, to have a forum to speak with and collaborate with government and put pressure on government so that we could get the master plan out, because we've seen the results today of a master plan that was not published for a decade. And, if you don't have a plan, you can't manage things, and we can see that things have really gone awry. So instead of throwing stones, we decided to put our case there, and we've been very influential in informing policy and getting master plans published and the likes. The next challenge we have at the moment is how do we overcome the problem of talk shops and getting to actually doing workshops. And that's very difficult because, as a chamber, we've been dealing with national government. The big issue right now is local government that we're going to talk about, because that's the one that delivers the water and sanitation non-service. That's where the difficulty lies. So the actions at local government, and we have 3 spheres of government, which makes it very complicated, and it's not working. So we don't have the answers, but we do know that through the media and publications and conferences and the likes, we're able to raise the importance of having water security, which we don't have.
You've raised a very important question, a very important point there by suggesting that we don't need talk shops, talking heads. We need workshops. We need action. And people like yourself and the outers of this world, which are very admirable because they do seem to get things right. Do you, have meetings, or do you kind of talk and bounce off organizations like Outer to try and also see where you headed, if you are headed in the right direction?
So also about 5-6 years ago with Outer, we did a joint project in establishing and petitioning for an independent water regulator, and we were successful. It will be called something different for political reasons, I guess, as a commercial regulator. It's being implemented. And so yes, we have worked with Outer from that perspective, where we put the best of brains together, and with a common cause. And we've managed to. We need an ombudsman in the water sector. We don't have that. Department of Water Sanitation is the regulator, but also the custodian of water and the producer of bulk water and the owner of water boards. You can't be player and referee. You need to separate those functions. So that's on the go again. It's very slow. It's dragging its heels. And it's an important thing because we need private sector investment into the water supply chain to reinstate these assets over the next couple of decades, not years. It's going to take decades. And to attract private capital, one needs an independent water regulator to make sure, as in all countries that have water security, that things are regulated as best as possible. It's crazy in a water scarce country like ourselves and region, we don't have an independent water regulator. And we have got regulators for everything else, but not for water. And without water, these 2 things that kicked off this country to a so-called industrialized nation until recently was gold and water. You needed water for the gold, and you needed water for the electricity, etc. So, electricity and water are the pillars of our society. And the reason why society is not progressing, is regressing. We don't have energy and water security. So, yeah, we put constructive pressure onto various spheres of government. In national government, it's been very, very constructive. We have a fairly stable Department of Water Sanitation with permanent Director General, permanent appointees. Minister's been in for quite a while with the deputies and the likes. So the team has established itself, but it's inherited a mess second to none. And I don't use the word crisis at all. I agree with the minister. It's a catastrophe. It's an absolute catastrophe that we have to fix. And we will fix it because we are unfortunately very resilient. We take a lot before we decide to get things going. But anyway, that's it from a chamber perspective.
God bless people like you. We need more of the Benoits of the world to get this country back on track. You've raised quite a number of issues there, Benoit. What I'm also concerned about is, we talk about load shedding, and we know what a catastrophe that has been on the country. Just look at our unemployment rates, and we know that all of this, sadly, is tied in with mass scale corruption. I guess the same can be said about the water situation, that we're having now water shedding, which was a new word coined here in South Africa, water shedding, and this is going to go on for a while. And over and above of that, we're being told now that obviously in certain parts of the country, the water is definitely not safe to drink. Let me ask you then, obviously you're saying that we don't have a water regulator. Are you guys at your company, the South African Water Chamber, and possibly even together with OUTA, trying to introduce a or call on government to get, a water regulator to also try and manage the situation, number one? Do you think this is a wild card, but do you think privatization of the water in South Africa might turn things around? Or are the lefties going to scream, rant, and rave and say that, it's white monopoly capitalist once again at play? Your thoughts?
I'm a great believer in that government. The word government comes from govern, is to govern. It's not to run business. So that water will be privatized is a certainty. It's a global certainty. And it's even happening in China and India. So, but it needs to be done in an organized fashion, not the Russian or the Soviet way, where you get these oligarchs who get created, who basically steal the state-owned entities. So one's got to be very careful. I don't believe we need to go into the deep end of privatization immediately. I don't think it's attractive or bankable to the private sector. That's the first thing. And secondly, I think we can start re-engineering the architecture in our water landscape without privatizing, but using private sector participation, so PSP. Those policies have been promulgated, as has the independent water regulator. So it is happening, but very slow. We tend to talk more and work less. So we have to change it. But the root cause to all this is really a lack of accountability to the rule of law and the Constitution. We do not respect the rule of law in South Africa in many aspects. Water is just one of them. If people were sanctioned for not delivering water services according to the norms that we as a society have put together and have gone through Parliament, and the last lot was in 1998 with the Water Act and the Water Services Act. So we've got everything in place, but nobody's being held accountable. And that's the root cause of it. We're not a stupid nation that doesn't know what to do, is because we steal very well, as you say. We're very good at setting up alternatives like the water mafia with their tankers and all the likes. Yeah, we need, and Europe went through this 50, 60 years ago where the mafia ran a lot of businesses and all the likes and overcame that fight with accountability. So we've got to have accountability and respect for the rule of law. And unfortunately, if you just look at crime rates and if you look at, illegal construction of dwellings, illegal tapping into water and electricity and all this, with very little consequences, you've got a 90% plus chance of not being caught. So that doesn't inhibit people from doing the wrong thing. But importantly, it doesn't encourage people to join the water sector. It doesn't encourage people to actually do their jobs properly and to be accountable. So we don't want to put all the councillors in South Africa into prison, etc., because the majority would land up there because they have absconded. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But we have to find, we have to use this carrot and stick approach. And the Minister of Water has been very clear with that. We need to incentivize accountability. And the Minister said himself in the Water Summit 2 years ago, he must be held to account. So, but you cannot, the Minister is not accountable for the water services providers, he is just the custodian and the regulator reports on it. He is not the person who is running the councils who are responsible for water delivery. And that's the dilemma we have. So one of the ways of overcoming that is to have a proper utility architecture where you have from source to tap, we call it. So from the water source to the tap, it's one entity. Then you don't have national government with the water boards and the dams. You don't have the bulk service providers, and you don't have then the municipalities who are distributing. Some of them do produce their own water also. But Johannesburg doesn't produce its own water. Its own water all comes from Rand Water, and Rand Water is in a reasonably healthy state. So it complies. We comply to it. The areas where we don't comply in Gauteng is where Rand Water is not providing, or Magali's Water not providing. It's where the problems we have in Mfuleni on its own, and the problems we have with the timber works, for example, in Hammanskraal, in Tshwane, where those systems have collapsed. But our bulk water is of a good quality. But if we have a single source responsibility in a utility, and that's how the world, generally speaking, operates, it's a simple architecture, and also it's one person billing, not 2 or 3 people billing. So at the moment, you've got national that builds the water boards build the municipalities. You've got 3, and they're not paying each other. So they're all at risk now. And what happens is you don't hire staff, you don't hire the right staff, you don't do your maintenance, and now the systems start collapsing. And it starts in the smaller to medium towns, first. Although I must say the only metros that are really safe are Cape Town, eThekwini. So Cape Town has its own it's from source to tap. eThekwini is through Umgeni, Utukela Umgeni now. That water board is functional. And then if you look here in Gauteng at the 3 big metros that depend on Rand Water. In essence, there are other safe ones out there, but out of the big cities, those are the safe ones. The rest are inundated with issues, and those issues are political issues that result in zero accountability. So how do we fix that? Well, we need a society that elects and holds its government to account. If there are consequences to inaction or to bad actions, you tend to think twice. And that's the root cause. So it's not an easy thing to overcome, because we've got over 250 municipalities. It's quite a difficult one to do. So the Department of Water and Sanitation's hands are really tied. They're the custodian and regulatory function look after the big dams.
Okay, I want to come back to you regarding the Hammanskraal situation. We know that quite a number of people died in that situation, and then also eThekwini. But let's go for an ad break. When we come back, we'll unpack all of that. And then, of course, the all-important question. You mentioned that Rand Water supplying Johannesburg and we're relatively safe here, but we can't take things for granted, can we? But all of that and more right after the ad break. I am talking with Benoit Leroy. He is the CEO of the South African Water Chamber. Please stay with us.
This is Salam Media. Conveniently located along the banks of the Crocodile River bordering the Kruger National Park, as a guest at Buckler's Africa Lodge, one can enjoy an amazing sunrise or sunset on our spacious deck area while you catch a glimpse of some wildlife sightings along the Crocodile River. The sounds of the African savannah will greet you whilst you enjoy your morning coffee. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Buckler's Africa Lodge is ideally situated only 6 kilometers from the Crocodile Bridge Gate in the Kruger National Park. Catering for all travelers with variety, we have 4 types of the finest rooms: superior rooms, deluxe rooms, deluxe suites, and 2-bedroomed family units. Each room is equipped with the finest amenities to make your stay unforgettable. Guests can choose between the self-catering option or book their accommodation with breakfast and dinner included. Buckler's Africa Lodge is your ideal location for the ultimate Kruger getaway experience. We specialize in exhilarating and educational game drives in Kruger, tailor-made to suit your family. Inquire about our various accommodation offerings and other activities. Visit www.tingana.co.za for more information. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Experience the pulse of Africa with us.
There's no smell that takes me back to the comfort of my childhood than the smell of black seed oil being applied by my nanny. Now I'm using Tib black seed in my own home to soothe sniffles and coughs, to help with digestion and immunity, and of course, as part of my beauty routine. After all these years, I've come to appreciate the wisdom in finding comfort and shifa in trusted treatments like Tib black seed. You can find Tib black seed at all leading pharmacies or find out more at blackseed.co.za.
Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Albeit Lodge, your true home away from home. Albeit is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Albeit has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albeitlodge.co.za.
Ah, the kitchen, the heart of the home, where memories are made and celebrated. Our go-to place for those freshly stacked pancakes early in the morning or for that late-night snack munchies. We are in there together, cooking, eating, and celebrating life together. Let's keep the kitchen a place that is shared by everyone, where we build stronger bonds and grow together. Sunfoil, Now We Cooking. Visit nowwecooking.co.za for recipes that everyone can help make.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
8:23 a.m. News and views on Salam Media, and our first guest on the morning is here to talk about something pretty important. It is the water situation in South Africa. Like I indicated earlier on, just when we thought it was safe to go out, never mind load shedding, it's now going to be water shedding or water testing, I should imagine. And of course, our guest is Benoit Leroy, CEO of the Water Chamber, South African Water Chamber. And hopefully this organization will be able to get something going as far as we as South Africans who are on our knees right now, some relief from the water situation. Welcome back, Benoit. And what's happened with that Hammanskraal situation? I'm sure you guys took a very keen interest on that matter. Was it ever resolved, or is it still an ongoing saga?
It's an ongoing saga because the root causes were were not identified, although they're very obvious, because you've got a sewage works called Rooiwal that doesn't comply. And it doesn't comply for a lot of reasons. So you've got pure sewage. If you look at the analysis, you've got pure sewage going in and out into the Harpies River, but also into the source for the Temba water treatment plant that supplies Hammanskraal. And that Temba water treatment plant does not comply to microbiological or chemical compliance levels at all, according to the Blue Drop report. We know that. But also these plants are not designed to take raw sewage to that extent. So, you're really feeding yourself with your own sewage. And then you've got a tanker situation which was relatively badly managed in that you didn't have an analysis of each tank. Now, once you tap into a bulk water source and put it into something else, you introduce risk and you can get microbes and the like. So you should test every single one, just a cursory test to see that you don't have any untoward microbiological activity, because that's what we're really worried about, and that the residual chlorine is at a reasonable level to contain or manage those bacteria. That wasn't done. So the causes are people were fed with water that is not fit for purpose, and it still isn't. A number of over 4 billion rand has been mentioned will be supplied by National Treasury to fix it, but National Treasury has said they don't have money. We are officially bankrupt as a nation. We are borrowing to pay civil servants' salaries. So I do not believe that that can be fixed very quickly. If you look at Potsdam upgrade in the Western Cape, which is for less than a third of the volume increase that they're catering for, is over 5 billion rand and will take something like 4 to 5 years to put together. So I do not believe that we are better than the Western Cape. And I say that tongue in cheek, so it will take us 4 to 5 years at least to fix that situation. There's a temporary plant that's being put in by Magali's Water to try and cater for the Hammanskraal people. So hopefully that will give, some relief. And I think that's been put in at about 400 million rand. So it's big numbers and people being put at risk. But, overall, 71% of our water doesn't comply to chemical criteria and 51 to microbiological. So more than half of our water is not fit for human consumption. That's it. So in Johannesburg, trying outside of Hammanskraal and Ekurhuleni, we are okay because of Rand Water. So at the moment we are okay. It's a big utility. It's one of the largest in the world. It has a lot of systems in place. But I won't say it's too big to fail, because Eskom failed and collapsed, and it was very big, a lot bigger than this. But I do not believe that the water boards, Rand Water, for example, have been captured. I don't believe that we have those issues there. They are behind in their CapEx program and their augmentation and refurbishment for a lot of reasons. There's a skill shortage, because you can understand, water scientists, engineers, accountants, and the likes left South Africa a long time ago because nothing was being done. And you follow, water flows downhill and people follow jobs. So this is what they do. So there's quite a skill shortage. It makes talk shops easier than workshops. It's one of the issues that we have. But we are fortunate in eThekwini, despite its other issues, but in eThekwini we are fortunate from a water supply perspective in Cape Town Metro and the Gauteng Metros that we do have safe water.
Benoit, let's go back to eThekwini. Not too long ago, a couple of months ago, there were huge issues there as well. I think the mayor was being called to answer for supposedly rigged reports on the situation, the water safety situations there. I think the tourism board was also very concerned, because that would mean a huge impact of, tourists deciding to go elsewhere because of the water safety issues. We were told at the time that the beaches were not safe either. The water, obviously, running into the sea, and the beach area would not be safe. Have you heard anything further on that? Would you suggest then the latest report on eThekwini is, we need to go abide by it because it is safe? Or would that only apply to the drinking water in eThekwini, and the whole beach area, etc., is still under investigation? Or do we have the green light on that as well?
So no, the beach is red light. Red light, and I'll explain why, but it's two separate issues. We need to separate them. So the water comes from Mgani to Kela. So the Mgani Water Board gets its water upstream. So that water is, generally speaking, of the same quality as Rand Water. It's the second biggest water board. It's a big water board. It's well run and managed. So it's not exposed to as much pollution. So the water's fine. The sewage works in Durban or eThekwini. Durban used to work, so let me say eThekwini don't work. They have collapsed. So now about half of the 20, they've made an O&M contract with the water board. not the sewage board, the water board, and to help them manage them, because running potable water plants is a lot more sophisticated, the quality side, than a sewage plant, but they are two different things, and the chemistry is very different. So I have a question mark on that, but they're trying to do the right thing. The sewage works have not been fixed. The city said they need 20 billion rand to fix the sewage works and to fix the conveyance system, so the pipes that move sewage around in the pump stations. They haven't got that money. Treasury hasn't given them the money. They don't have it either. And even if they gave it today, it's going to take us 4 to 5 years at least to reinstate it. So the analyses are credible because they split with an independent laboratory called Talbot Laboratories. So they take the sample together and they get more or less the same results. And when you do microbiological, there is quite a lot, although they're both accredited laboratories, you get quite a lot of deviations, but the order of magnitude is what you're looking at, and they run very often between 10 and 20,000 coliform units. So the beaches do clear up, but by the time the analysis is done, the beach could be polluted again. Now, to me, the sewage works have not been fixed.
Sorry. Let me interrupt you there, just for clarity, for sake of clarity. When we talk about the beaches not being fit for purpose or whatever, what exactly are we talking about? Is the sand on the beach polluted as well? Or the water, the shower water, or the drinking water at the beach areas? Is that what we're talking about? And what about the sea where people go and bathe in? What exactly are we saying here? We're talking about the sea. But obviously all of that... all the muck and all of that stuff washes up onto the beach, does it not? How safe then is it for our children to go and play in that area?
I wouldn't. I will not walk there with my grandchildren. I wouldn't walk with shoes or barefoot. But the real danger is that it's a stochastic situation. It's unpredictable. It changes all the time because the sea currents and the winds change all the time. So one day the water might be fine, and another day it isn't, and they're relying on dilution. So the solution to pollution is dilution, and unfortunately, so what's happening is it's a situation that changes all there. So I've been in the business too long, and I nearly got killed by waterborne sewage when I was 40 years old. I was extremely ill for 3 months, and although I've got a lot of immunity, having been in the business for a long time, and this happened in East London at the time. So, and I'm talking 23 years ago. So the problem started a long time ago, and I do not believe that the eThekwini beaches, one can say, make a blanket statement and say that they are safe. There are days they are, days they aren't. But the question is, what happens with that pollution that's, yes, washed up onto the shore and all the likes? Look, sunlight does, the UV in the sunlight does degrade bacteria and things like that. But we know there's a problem with the sewage works, and the sewage works do not comply. And the laboratory results show from the city and from Talbot Laboratories that they do not comply. So they are dumping untreated sewage or semi-treated sewage into the Mgani River still as we speak, and into the outfall. So what's happening is the risk is high. The risk of potable water issues is low. It's a supply problem, like in Joburg, they got bursts all the time. So that it's a non-revenue water issue. It's a physical losses issue. But the potable water is of a good quality. But the beaches is a really, really risky thing because it's changing all the time. The city is trying to do its best because you need the tourism to try and keep this, the city alive. And so it's quite a difficult thing. But I personally would not do it. But maybe, I've been in the business long enough to understand, the risk, and maybe I'm a little bit more cautious than the average person is. But I think it's going to be a tough sell. I think it's going to be a tough sell because, turning around the situation in our country with 97% of the water plants, 97% of the sewage plants do not comply to the blue and green drop report. That's the government report that came out. 97% don't comply, so 3% do. And that tells a story, and that story means that where it is working, it's not going to be working for that long if we carry on, because we're on a slippery slide downwards, and that's what we have to arrest. And really, it's up to us as society to hold these people we've elected, and that we pay our taxes to do the work for us to do it. I mean, we pay it, so they must do the work, and we must hold them to account. And as a society, we've been far too tolerant. We need to put our foot down and make sure that what is in your employment contract as a civil servant is carried out within the legislative framework that's there. And that must be enforced. and we're not enforcing it, unfortunately. And we've seen, if I go to Zondo Commission, nothing really has happened because you're going to have so many people involved in this. So yeah, we have to start pushing, very hard. And I think awareness through the media is a very good way of generating, active citizenry.
Okay, therein lies the problem, does it not? The issue on accountability. I think we as South Africans don't know how to hold people to account. But be that as it may, we're going to wrap up now. And one or two very quick questions. Do you come from a scientific background? You seem to know so much about all of these
I come
issues.
from a chemical engineering background in
Wow,
effluent treatment.
okay.
That's how I started.
Okay, great. So you do know what you're talking about. Bless you.
I hope so.
Summarize the situation for us and give us a glimmer of hope going forward into the festive season regarding all the big metros, regarding should we still continue, even though you're saying Rand Water supplies the Greater Johannesburg area, the water is safe, but as a cautionary measure, would you still say boil the water before you drink it, number one, and number two, what about this craze with the bottled water? Surely it comes from a source, I should imagine, where my tap water comes from. So your thoughts on that? Have I lost you there, Benoit? Oops. Okay, I seem to have lost my guest. We had reached the end of the interview in any event, so let's leave it there. I'm looking at this picture and it is still frozen, which means that, maybe, just maybe, we have him back again. Nope. Okay. We're going to have to leave it there. We will hook up with him again sometime in the new year to hear what is going on. The time is exactly 8:37. News and views on Salam Media, and please do stay with us and do become a part of the conversation. Thank you.